Hey guys, how are you doing? Today in this video, we are going to talk about Glacial Lake Outburst Floods or GLOF. Recently, on July 8, 2025, Nepal witnessed a devastating GLOF event, sweeping away a China-built bridge and highlighting the growing climate risk in the Himalayas. India, home to over 7,500 glacial lakes, is now taking this threat seriously. In this video, we will decode the science behind GLOF's events, the latest NDMA-led strategy, advanced technologies, and why it matters for your preparation, not only for mains, prelims, but even for interview also. Let's get started. First, we will begin with what exactly GLOF is. Okay, so here we go. Glacial Lake Outburst is basically sudden release of water from a glacial lake. It is often it is often caused by collapse of moraines or ice dams. Okay, these are high velocity and high volume, events which pose serious threat to life, infrastructure, and even ecosystem. Okay, so it is simply sudden. So I can't find my pen. So now I have got it. So what is this? This is basically sudden release of water from a glacial lake, right? Glacial lake. Okay. This is the definition of GLOF, right? So this is it is a glacial lake, I am going to talk about it. It is a glacial lake, and if it breaks down, if these dams are broken down, so it will release a hell lot of amount of water, and this will cause flash floods, right? This is what GLOF event is basically. Why it happens? Often caused by, it is most often, you can say. Okay, let me first see my pen. Okay, most often caused by sudden collapse of moraines or ice dams. Moraines, these are called moraines. You must have done this in your basic geography course. Okay, moraines or ice dams. This is it. Okay, this is what exactly. Okay, so it is kind of outburst flood. This is kind of melting of glacial suddenly. So you can say melting of glacial lake suddenly. Okay, or in other words, what you can say, what it is going to it is going to cause flash flood. Large amount of water is released. Large amount of water is released. I guess this is what GLOF is. Okay, so glacial lake outburst floods. Okay, so this is what is the basic idea. Okay, let me tell you types of glacial lakes in Himalaya region. You should know at least two types. Types of glacial lakes, and where particularly in Himalayas or IHR, Himalayas region, right? Okay, okay. ठीक है, तो ये दो टाइप की होंगी, और उससे पहले मैं आपको बता दूं, there are approximately 28, there are 11 major river basins, right? So in Himalayan region there are 11 major rivers, 11 major river basins are there. Okay, and approximately 28,000 glacial lakes are there. And out of these 28,000, 7,500 are exclusively located in India, right? And out of these 7,500 out of these 28,000, right? 7,500 located in India. So you can now make sense what kind of risk is there, how much risk is there. Okay, broadly speaking, two types. These lakes are of two types. One is called supraglacial lakes and others are called moraine-dammed lakes. Okay, so one is called supraglacial lake, ठीक है, supraglacial lakes, and others are called basically moraine-dammed lakes. They are called moraine-dammed lakes. है ना। तो आपको एक बेसिक डिफरेंस पता होना चाहिए, एंड दिस इज व्हाट आई एम टॉकिंग राइट नाउ. It, I think, it can be asked in your preliminary examination. They can connect it to your basic geography part, है ना. तो आपको NCERTs पता होनी चाहिए, लेकिन सबसे पहले what is in news, why I am discussing all of these things, you should understand, because recently, in Nepal, this catastrophic, GLOF event was caused, and which caused flash flood. And that was, it was along something called a Lende river, some river is called there Lende river, which flows from Tibet to Nepal, and it washed away that, bridge which I was talking, China built bridge basically. That was China, friendship bridge, that was collapsed. Okay. So this is the idea. It is supraglacial lake. Generally, it will be formed by melt water. जो पानी क्या हो जाता है, मेल्ट हो जाता है, तो उसके एक्यूमुलेशन से, तो मेल्ट वाटर एक्यूमुलेशन. दिस इज, मैं आपको कीवर्ड्स बता रहा हूं, आई एम नॉट राइटिंग एवरीथिंग, यू शुड मेक सेंस. सो दीज आर फॉर्म्ड बाय मेल्ट वाटर एक्यूमुलेटिंग, इन डिप्रेशंस. मेल्ट वाटर एक्यूमुलेशन इन डिप्रेशंस, डिप्रेशंस आर कॉज्ड बेसिकली, है ना, जो वैलीज टाइप की होती है डिप्रेशंस, है ना, और ग्लेशियल सरफेस, ओके. तो ये इसका एक बेसिक क्या है, फंडा है. और ऑटोमेटिकली दे आर हाईली, दे आर वल्नरेबल बेसिकली, एट हाई रिस्क दे आर वल्नरेबल, particularly in summer season, because in summer season what will happen, this ice will melt and they can cause kind of flash flood. Okay. Moraine-dammed they are located near glacial snouts, or sometimes they are, they are held by loose debris, or ice moraine basically, so they are held by लूज डेब्री, है ना. तो जो डेब्री हो जाता है, जो इकट्ठा हो जाता है डेब्री, उसके कारण पानी क्या हो जाता है, रुक जाता है. और आइस कोर मोरेन्स आल्सो, और यू कैन से आइस कोर मोरेन्स, है ना, वो डैम्स टाइप के बन जाते हैं. तो एक इस टाइप की भी क्या हो सकती है, इस टाइप की भी एक लेक हो सकती है ना. तो जब जो प्राकृतिक रूप से क्या हो, बनी हो, नेचुरली दे आर फॉर्म्ड बेसिकली, राइट. दे आर स्ट्रक्चरली वीक एंड प्रोन टू सडन फेलियर, दे कैन फेल एनी टाइम एक्चुअली. सो स्ट्रक्चरली वेरी वीक, है ना, स्ट्रक्चरली वेरी वीक, एक्सट्रीमली वीक, है ना. तो दे आर सडन आउटब्रेक हो सकता है, इनमें कभी भी टूट सकती है, सडन आउटब्रेक, है ना. जैसे ही पानी की मात्रा ज्यादा होगी, द अमाउंट ऑफ वाटर इज हायर, द वॉल्यूम ऑफ वाटर इज हायर, ऑटोमेटिकली इट विल नॉट होल्ड दैट मच वाटर एंड इट विल सडनली ब्रेक. एंड दो सडन ब्रेक्स कैन कॉज, sometimes it can happen due to avalanche, or excessive melt water pressure, है ना. तो due to high pressure, है ना, due to high pressure. I hope this is the basic idea. You might have some kind of impression, or otherwise I have talked to you about avalanches, some kind of avalanches, this is the reason of due to this sudden outbreak. Okay, so we should also know what are the major key factors for these kind of events, GLOF events, and I am just highlighting one after another. There are many regions. First is called melting glaciers, तो melting glacier क्या है, एक बहुत important region है. और recently this is in news, because what they are saying, what people are talking, average temperature has increased, 2023-2024 they were recorded hottest years on the earth, extreme temperature in small geographies, and this is basically causing some kind of melting of glaciers in those pockets where there is glaciers, right. So melting glacier is most important, right. तो इसको ध्यान रखना. इसके साथ मैं आपको कीवर्ड्स बता देता हूं. ग्लोबल टेम्परेचर इंक्रीज particularly 2023 and 2024 were recorded ever highest temperature ever in the globe, right. Okay, so accelerated rate से क्या हो रही है, melting, है ना. तो global temperature क्या कर रहा है, what it is doing actually, increase in average global temperature, it is accelerating the rate of glacial melting, and which is causing increasing water volume, therefore high water pressure, and therefore these kind of events are taking place, right. Avalanches and landslide is another example. Avalanches and landslides, landslide events. Landslides is another reason for this kind of events, GLOF events, right? So इसके कारण क्या होता है basically large amount of glaze, large amount of snow is melting and transferring momentum. ये तो मैंने ज्यादा साइंस बता दिया आपको, but transferring water volume, and this transferred water volume is going to cause some kind of GLOF. Another event could be recently, there was if there was earthquake, right? So seismic event, earthquake events. Earthquake events are also very important. They plays very important role. These seismic activities, what they do actually, they stabilize moraine dams, right? So seismic activities nearby region, seismic activities in nearby region, what they do, nearby regions, what they do actually, they destabilize these moraine dams, right? What they are doing, they are destabilizing these moraine dams, and which is causing collapse of dams. This will cause collapse of these and collapse of dams, and these are going GLOF events, right? Okay, glacial lake outburst floods. Apart from earthquakes, sometimes heavy rainfall or snowfall, sometimes heavy rainfall and snowfall, right? Sometimes heavy rainfall and snowfall, it can be also reason for such kind of events, because extreme precipitation event will that will basically fill the these lakes so quickly, so speedily, and therefore water pressure will increase, and it will lead to the failure of these dams, right? So water volume increases, and it can collapse those dams, right? Those moraine dams. Fifth reason could be ice or volcanic activities, ice or volcanic activities, है ना? तो volcanic eruptions under or ice activity for that matter, that can cause rapid melting, and that can generate again large volume of water contributing to this event, GLOF events, or ice avalanche into lakes, right? So this is most important, So again basic concept वही है, water volume क्या होगा, increase होगा, and those dams which are vulnerable, they will be just lost. Okay, most importantly, sixth number is human anthropogenic factors, so human activities. और अगर आपको इसको लिखना है, what you can write down, anthropogenic activities. These on anthropogenic activities, for example, constructions, deforestation near glacial lakes, they destabilize the surrounding, right? So activities like, for example, I am using another pen, for example, mining, deforestation, है ना? और क्या क्या हो सकता है ना? वहां पर बहुत सारे डैम्स बनाना, जैसे मान लो उत्तराखंड में केदारनाथ इवेंट, वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट उत्तराखंड, हिमाचल. So there are large many numbers of hydroelectric projects are going on, and which are sometimes destabilizing this environmental ecological balance, right? So mining, deforestation, और उसके अलावा for example construction for the development purpose, है ना? तो एक some kind of balance should be there, right? कि developmental process भी चलती रहे, but at the same time this ecological this equilibrium should not be there. Okay, so this is what is happening. All right, let me tell you past GLFO disasters. As I was talking, Kedarnath tragedy, सबको पता है Kedarnath tragedy में क्या हुआ था 2013 में. What happened there actually? There was Chorabari Lake. It is the source of Mandakini River, है ना? ये बेसिक ज्योग्राफी में आपने हिमालयन रिवर्स में पढ़ा होगा, इन गंगा रिवर सिस्टम में मंदाकिनी रिवर at least, right? On June 17, 2013, what happened? There was massive avalanche triggered a flash floods that breached the lake's moraine dams. तो जो ये डैम जो यहाँ पर आपको दिख रहा है, this is ये जो डेब्री, लूज डेब्री से क्या हुआ है, रुका हुआ ये पानी, it was broken basically, है ना? This caused significant damage, and altered the landscape. और आपको पता होगा उस पर मूवीज भी बन चुकी हैं केदारनाथ पर, and it was of some kind of some kind of serious disaster. Recently in 2023, South Lhonak Lake is there in Sikkim. On 4th October 2023, South Lhonak Lake, a rapidly expanding Moraine-dammed glacial lake in Sikkim, this was breached due to heavy cloud burst. That triggered landslide also. And ये बहुत serious क्या हुआ था, massive flood water downstream क्या हुआ था, गया था, and it caused a serious problems. Okay, so these are the past events, right? तो मैं आपको बता देता हूँ GLFO रिस्क के बारे में. अगर मैं बता देता हूँ तो GLFO रिस्क अगेन Indian Himalayan region, IHR, Indian, we call it Indian Himalayan region, right? This is Indian Himalayan region, है ना. तो जो इंडियन हिमालयन रीजन है IHR, अगेन यू शुड रिमेंबर देयर आर सम फैक्ट्स. 11 major river basins are there. Okay, basins are there. And again I have talked you, out of 28,000 glacial lakes, this basic fact you should remember. Glacial lakes approximately 7,500 are exclusively in India, है ना, are in India, right? Total 28,000 glacial lakes are there. Okay, so let me tell you. Okay, so almost 2/3 जो रिस्क है बेसिकली GLFO रिस्क है, सामान्य तौर पर ऐसा देखा गया, रफली let me tell you something, roughly 2/3 or approximately 66.66%, which is 2/3 actually. These events are triggered by ice avalanche or landslides, right? तो ऐसा देखा गया स्टडीज में, 2/3 66.66% GLOF events, they are caused by, किसके कारण होती है? They are caused by ice avalanche, okay, or simply landslides. And this region, Indian Himalayan region, it is prone to landslide also. You should be remembering this, right? This is the fact. Remaining are excessive, and approximately 1/3 GLFO events. तो आपकी जो मिटिगेशन स्ट्रेटजीज होंगी वो किस बात पे डिपेंड करेंगी? अगर ये आइस एवलांचे हो रहा है तो क्यों हो रहा है, लैंडस्लाइड्स हो रही है तो क्यों हो रहा है? दैट्स हाउ NDMA विल लुक इनटू दिस मैटर, राइट? सो 1/3 GLFO इवेंट्स आर, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल हमें कॉज पता होना चाहिए, है ना. तो इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ excessive मेल्ट वाटर प्रेशर, राइट? मेल्ट वाटर प्रेशर. तो जो हम बात कर रहे थे किसकी, ग्लोबल एवरेज, ग्लोबल temperature is increasing and causing this events, right? उसके अलावा earthquake, है ना. उसके अलावा apart from earthquake, for example, volcanic activities, right? Volcanic activities, all of these are causing approximately 33%. 33% of these GLFO events are caused by excessive melt water pressure, okay, which is basically for moraine type of dams, weak moraine-dammed. तो weak moraine-dammed जो lakes हैं उनके लिए ज्यादा रिस्क है. They are most vulnerable. They are at higher risk for this. Okay, so this is the basic idea. All right. So okay, तो GLFO रिस्क को मेजर करने का क्या तरीका है? रिमोट सेंसिंग. I am going to talk in the next video about NISAR, this satellites, and which is going to be part of this NDMA also. I am going to talk in the next video. But this is remote sensing. Remote sensing is how to measure. तो क्वेश्चन ये है कि how to measure risk. रिस्क का मेजरमेंट कैसे किया जा सकता है? रिस्क मेजरमेंट के लिए remote sensing, right? Remote sensing, and with the help of remote sensing, surface area can be measured. तो surface area for these avalanche, है ना, these avalanche, or maybe for this ice, ice capped regions can be measured, right? Remote sensing is one thing, right? And it is done because it can be done over a period of time, right? And therefore risk assessment, this risk assessment, over a period of time, over a long period of time, you can make risk assessment, right? आप क्या कर सकते हो? रिस्क असेस कर सकते हो. रिस्क असेसमेंट कैन बी डन, एंड आफ्टर दिस रिस्क असेसमेंट इज डन, we can develop early warning system. we can develop early warning system. This is one way to do this, right? उसके अलावा second thing can be vulnerability. You know, those areas which are more vulnerable, they are prone to risk or vulnerability, है ना? So this is another aspect of measuring risk. So those areas which are highly vulnerable, and they are those areas which are immediate, you know, geography, which are critical for these GLFO events. They can be, you know, the people can be, you know, they can be, you know, shifted to another place, right? So we have to look at the, you know, biodiversity, we have to look at the livelihood, we have to look at the hydropower projects, you know, those which are there. Okay, now India, how can India reduce these GLFO events? We are going to talk quickly about this, you know. And NDMA, right, नेशनल डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट, इसके लिए अपने पास क्या है, NDMA. लेट मी क्विकली गो थ्रू NDMA, है ना? तो NDMA को एक बार क्विकली रिविजिट कर देते हैं, एंड देन वी विल गेट बैक टू दिस, राइट? सो नेशनल डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट अथॉरिटी, this is act which was passed by Parliament of India on December 2005, right? And this is act of the Parliament, okay, which create this body called NDMA, right? NDMA is headed by Prime Minister. They can ask you this question, and it is the part of your syllabus. You should know disaster management. You know, paper 3 में specifically लिखा हुआ है ना. Each state also has its own state disaster management authority. Read about NDMA in detail. You know, I'm just giving you overview of this, right? Just, you know, kind of reminding you, right? It is led by Chief Minister. Okay, तो NDMA के बारे में ध्यान रखना. सेंटर पे कौन है? सेंटर पे जो इसका हेड है, सेंटर का हेड कौन होता है? प्राइम मिनिस्टर. एंड स्टेट लेवल पे हेड इज चीफ मिनिस्टर, राइट? वाइल NDMA, अब ध्यान से देखना, बेसिक डिफरेंस यू शुड नो. NDMA इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर सेटिंग डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट पॉलिसीज, एंड एग्जीक्यूशन कौन करेगा? SDMA, स्टेट disaster management, are in charge of creating and implementing these disasters, you know, plans, right? So you should know. So far, what was the, you know, significance of this DM Act? You know, this DM Act, if you remember, this act was enacted in the aftermath of devastating 2004 tsunami. 2004 में जो सुनामी आई थी, और ये डायग्राम जो यहाँ पर है, चित्र रखा हुआ है, this figure is showing you this, you know, tsunami, you know, 2004 tsunami, right? This was the epicenter of this earthquake, and it causes kind of, you know, very serious damage. If you remember, you know, the tsunami 2004. The idea for such legislation was in work at least since 1998 उड़ीसा सुपर साइक्लोन के बाद. तब से ये था कि डिजास्टर से कैसे निपटा जाए, है ना? This act led to the creation of NDMA, SDMAs at national and state level. A national disaster response force, NDRF है उसमें, आपको पता होगा. National Institute of Disaster Management is there, you know, an institute meant for disaster related research, training and awareness and capacity building, right? The act was followed by National Disaster Management Policy in 2009 and National Disaster Management Plan in recently 2016. Over the years, it has saved thousands of lives and provided relief, rescue and rehabilitation services. And this is what we are going to talk now about, you know, NDMA's role, where NDMA's role basically in reducing, you know, GLFO risk. So first of all, they will have this mitigation strategies, you know, how to mitigate such kind of risk. Okay, तो NDMA का जो role है वो क्या होगा? Mitigation basically, right? So what it has done, basically, National Disaster Management has initiated some kind of proactive shift from post-disaster response to risk reduction, right? तो इसमें mitigation में क्या है? पोस्ट, अगर डिजास्टर हो जाए उससे पहले ही क्या कर लो, बेसिकली प्रोएक्टिव जो मेजर होता है, प्रोएक्टिव शिफ्ट, यू नो. और उसके लिए क्या किया गया है? कमिटी ऑन डिजास्टर रिस्क रिडक्शन, राइट? कमिटी ऑन डिजास्टर रिस्क, यू नो, डिजास्टर रिस्क रिडक्शन. तो उसके लिए क्या किया है? कमिटी ऑन डिजास्टर रिस्क रिडक्शन. ओके, तो ये काइंड ऑफ क्या है? प्रोएक्टिव मेजर है ना, काइंड ऑफ प्रोएक्टिव मेजर है ना. ठीक है, पहले से ही है ना. पोस्ट डिजास्टर के बजाय सबसे पहले क्या कर लो, है ना. तो वो क्या करेगी? दिस इज काइंड ऑफ नेशनल, यू नो, कोऑर्डिनेशन एफर्ट्स which will bring together, you know, central scientific agencies, academic and research monitors, warning systems, you know, for GLF in India. And most importantly, apart from this, okay, तो इसका जो ये पर्पस क्या है? जो साइंटिफिक कम्युनिटी है, तो काइंड ऑफ एक अम्ब्रेला काइंड ऑफ कमिटी है, साइंटिफिक कम्युनिटी, दोज पीपल हु आर स्टडिंग दीज इवेंट्स, academics, academicians basically, academics को, है ना, and research institutions, academics and research institutions, है ना। उसके अलावा इस कमिटी के प्रोएक्टिव मेजर्स के लिए व्हाट दे आर लुकिंग फॉर, मॉनिटरिंग एंड वार्निंग सिस्टम्स, मॉनिटरिंग एंड वार्निंग, है ना, जैसे डॉपलर radar है फॉर एग्जांपल, राइट, for example we have X band radar, I have made one video on X band radar, which was this was I think, अभी रिसेंटली केरला में एक इवेंट हुई थी, राइट, ऐसा डिजास्टर हुई थी, तो उसके बाद वहां पर उसको लगाया गया था, लुक, गो थ्रू दैट वीडियो, राइट। सो एंड उसके अलावा जो स्टेट्स एंड मतलब सेंटर है ना, सेंटर एंड स्टेट्स के जितने इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं, स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं, they will come together and they will bring out the best possible, mitigation strategies, right? Uske alawa, apart from that, in particular to this, GLF events, in particular to GLF event, government of India, central government has finalized first national program, first central government, agar likhna chahte ho, to central government, first नेशनल प्रोग्राम, एंड उसके लिए गवर्नमेंट ने 20 मिलियन, 20 मिलियन यूएसडी, कितना बजट है इसका, 20 मिलियन यूएसडी का एक प्रोग्राम लॉन्च किया है, which is prioritizing 56 at risk glacial lakes, तो for what prioritizing, government at prioritizing 56 at risk, जिनका रिस्क बहुत ज्यादा है, glacial lakes. Okay, this is what government is doing basically, right? So this list will be expanded to, recently, there was in news, they are going to expand it to 195 glacial lakes, लेकिन जो अभी है, तो this is going to be expanded, these lakes will be expanded to 195, and they are categorized basically at 4 different level, 4 risk level, right? What is the objective of this program? Objective of this program is, let me tell you, objective of this program is fivefold, right? Number one, let me use another color pen. Okay, so number one, what they are doing basically, they hazard assessment of each lake, right? So first of all, what they will do, hazard assessment for at risk glacial lake, है ना, at risk glacial lake। पहला जो इसका क्या है, first thing what they are doing, actually first objective of this program is what, hazard assessment of each at risk lake, right? Then installing automated weather and water stations, right? So another one is automated, right? तो इसमें साइंस को यूज कर रहे हैं, right? Automated weather and water stations, and in short they call it AWWS, okay, automated weather and water stations, right? This kind of installment, establishment of EWS. Third was establishment of EWS, not economic weaker section, so you should be writing, early warning system, right? Early warning system, है ना, कई बार हम यूज करते हैं ना EWS कैटेगरी को, so don't just get confused with it, okay? Early warning system. And another one is mitigating by, let me find out the pen, this color pen, okay? तो अनदर जो इसका दूसरा एस्पेक्ट है वो क्या है, वो है मिटिगेटिंग रिस्क बाय ड्रॉइंग डाउन वाटर लेवल और बिल्डिंग फ्लो थ्रू रिटेंशन स्ट्रक्चर्स, ओके? तो ड्रॉइंग डाउन, ठीक है, ड्रॉइंग डाउन वाटर लेवल्स, ड्रॉइंग डाउन वाटर लेवल्स और बिल्डिंग फ्लो, है ना, or building flow through retention structure. Through retention structure, है ना? Okay. And the last one, most importantly, community engagement, right? Okay. Last one is community engagement. So this is the first time, government of India has what it has done. Government of India has government has India has basically it has proposed or finalized basically the first ever national program for these risk at glacial lakes. This is most important part. Okay. Apart from this, these program is encouraging Indian technology, system and scientific expertise, right? One of which is SAR Interferometry, right? So we are going to talk about that, and which has ability to look at micro changes in the slope stability, right, using the remote sensing satellites. So we are going to cover this in another video on satellites. Okay, so far so you should remember these basic idea about GLF events, and I guess it can be asked in your mains examination also. And I am going to give you one question for answer writing, and which is glacial lake outburst floods are emerging as a serious climate induced hazard in the Indian Himalayan region. Okay, एक words को अगर आप देखोगे तो then you can write better answer. Okay, you should try to write answer, because once you prepare very well for your mains examination, at least on those topics which are common to your prelims and mains examination. हालांकि disaster management से generally prelims में शायद basic question आ सकता है, but they can very well ask you about what are GLOF, है ना, ऐसा सवाल आ सकता है. They can ask you question like this कि GLOF events के बारे में है ना, what do you know about this, and they can give you 4 basic statements and then ask you which one of them is incorrect or correct, like that, right? So you should learn, we should read about it, and again I am picking all of these things from newspaper, क्योंकि जो यूपीएससी का जो असली सिलेबस है ना, जो रियल सिलेबस है वो न्यूज़पेपर है, फाइनली दे विल लुक न्यूज़पेपर एंड दे विल सी हाउ मच अवेयर यू आर, है ना, देन दे विल ट्राई टू कनेक्ट इट बैकवर्ड, जिसको कहते हैं ना कि वो कनेक्टिंग डॉट्स बैकवर्ड बेसिकली, है ना. तो पहले आपको जीएलएफओ के बारे में पता होना चाहिए, देन यू विल बी आस्क्ड क्वेश्चन अबाउट द साइंस बिहाइंड इट, द बेसिक ज्योग्राफी बिहाइंड इट, व्हाट इज इंडियन हिमालयन रीजन, कितने वहां पे रिवर्स हैं, है ना, ग्लेशियल लेक्स क्या होते हैं, दे कैन आस्क यू ऑल ऑफ दीज क्वेश्चंस. बट रिमेंबर इट इज काइंड ऑफ बैकवर्ड, गोइंग बैकवर्ड, once you have done your basic NCERT codes. Okay, so write this answer. Discuss India's scientific and institutional response to mitigate GLFO risk. Okay, so I wind up this video today. Thank you so very much. If you like our video, don't forget to subscribe the channel, and if you really like it, don't forget to hit like, share and comment button. See you guys until next time. Thank you so very much.